what's your name?
My name is Aditya Mehta.
Where are you from?
I'm from Mumbai, India originally.
Okay.
And I've also lived in Austin, Texas, Vancouver, BC, and now Seattle, Washington.
How long have you been in the US?
A total of 8 years in 2 innings, but 4 years in Seattle.
Can you walk me through your immigration journey from studying in the US
Yeah.
to moving back to India to then
Yeah.
coming to Canada and then coming back to the US?
Yeah, I've had a B1, B2 since 1995.
Okay.
And I was on a tourist visa. I've been to US 3 times before moving here for studies on a F1.
Mm-hmm.
Then when I went back, my F1 eventually lapsed. Then in 2017, I tried to move here on a L1 through my own tech startup.
Okay.
But my visa still got rejected.
Okay.
So I said, I don't want anything to do with US. If you don't want me, I don't want to come here.
Mm-hmm.
And then we said, let's look at Canada as an option because quality of life wise,
Mm-hmm.
similar place.
Yes.
English speaking country, North American, very similar. And we applied for PR and it took 3 weeks only.
Mm-hmm.
And we got a PR in 3 weeks.
So you directly applied for PR from back in India
Yes.
based on your profile.
Express entry.
Nice.
And this was before it really caught on. So it was very quick. We had high points. So I said, look, there's a country that actually wants us.
Mm-hmm.
So let's explore that.
Did you have to give the French exam?
No,
Okay.
because we went to British Columbia. So that's a requirement only in Quebec. And also
but like it adds your points, right?
It adds your points. But we didn't need it because one, the competition was not that much. And two, we were both master's degrees with work experience. Our IELTS scores were like 8 and 8.5 and we had no dependents. So we were like ideal category for them. So PR took 3 weeks and we showed up. The only difference was US I had a plan and I knew people.
Yeah.
I didn't know anybody in Canada. So we literally showed up and that added to how much time it took for us to settle down. And then I came to the US again with Amazon on a L1B.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted a L1A.
Yeah.
They didn't give it. And then I transitioned to a E2.
Okay.
And it was on literally the same day. So my E2 interview date was my last day at Amazon because if I get the E2, my L1 lapses.
Yeah.
So it was a little dance we had to do.
Mm-hmm.
And thankfully everything worked out. So now we're on a E2.
Mm-hmm.
And it's my fourth visa category I've had in the US. I've entered 68 times and I've left 67 times because we are here right now. And,
that's super precise.
And it's a clean, because every time they ask you your travel history.
Mm-hmm.
So I've maintained my travel history on a spreadsheet from I don't know how long. Because from Canada, you drive here all the time and vice versa. So I kept a track of every entry. But the best thing has been since we got a Canadian passport, nobody asks us for a visa anymore.
Yeah. So you were able to get E2 only because you are a Canadian citizen.
Correct.
And then what is the path from E2 to becoming a green card holder
There
or
is
like
no path.
No path.
No path.
Okay.
No direct path. Because you're a non-immigrant. Funny, non-immigrant for green card purposes, but immigrant for tax purposes,
Yes.
like resident for tax purposes. There's no direct path unless my business is big enough to the point where I have 800,000 to spare and I go to EB5, or my business becomes big or critical in a way, or my podcast becomes very popular and I can be eligible for a O1 visa, which would then put me on the EB1 green card path.
That's a long journey.
That's a long journey. So we don't want a green card.
Okay.
The green card lets you do business and it lets you do nothing. We already do a business.
Yes.
And we're not likely to do nothing anytime soon.
Exactly.
And in our businesses, we have continuity plans for both our businesses that if something happens visa-wise and we have to leave the country and go to Vancouver because I can go there anytime.
Yeah.
How will we operate our business from there? We actually have written down plans for this.
Wow.
Because Property Imagine needs me to be here. So today I can run the business for 3 months being outside.
Yeah.
And that should give me enough time to sell the business. But my wife's business is completely operable from anywhere. So while the chance of like we are Canadian citizens low in the pecking order of people that might get affected.
Yeah.
But if they do, then that's our backup plan versus find a way to get a green card. Also getting a green card has a lot of implications on your global income. And we have income outside of the US. So that also reduces the attractiveness of the green card.
I agree. So probably the next step would be like your kid eventually turning 21 or 18.
He will be a E2 dependent, then he will have an F1, then he will have an H1 or a TD, and then he will have a green card eligibility. But because he's born in Canada, it won't take him 50 years or whatever it is.
Yeah.
It will be hopefully much quicker.
Much quicker.
If he wants to live
If
here.
he wants to, for sure.
He has a OCI, so he can go to India, he can go to Canada.
Nice.
At least he has some options.
Was it worth it moving to the US?
100% worth it. I came here at a young age. I went back. It was difficult to adjust back.
Yeah.
After being here at age of 17 to 21. So I've always wanted to be back in this part of the world. And I love college football. love baseball.
Yeah.
My son and I watch hockey. Like I said, we do barbecues, and we really try to live the life here and experience all that this place has to offer. So I'm very happy here. I think my wife misses home much more than I do. But with her new business, she's found purpose, and we're making the most of our lives here. So
Amazing.
Yeah.
What do you love about the US?
Oh, I love so many things about the US. My friends tell me I was an American in my past life. I love the entrepreneurial spirit. I love the effort result correlation. And I really love that anyone who can work hard here can build their future. On the lighter side, I love baseball, barbecues, and boats.
What do you dislike about America?
So there was a gap of about 16 years between my two stints in the US. And the America back then was very different. The America right now is much angrier. People are a lot more polarized.
Yeah.
And everyone's just tense and frustrated at what's going on in the country. I'm sure it'll correct over time. It's like a pendulum.
Yeah.
But right now we're seems like in a very angry and polarized state.
What is your education background?
Yeah, so I was in Bombay until my 12th grade.
Okay.
And then I did my undergrad at University of Texas in Austin. I majored in marketing and urban planning.
Nice.
Then I went back to India, started working. With 6 years of experience, I got a degree in real estate finance.
In India?
It's an American degree which you can take in India. It's like a CFA, but for alternative assets, including real estate. And the same year, I started my MBA at the London Business School. And that was a global program. So the classes were in Dubai, London, Hong Kong, and New York. Okay. So every month, you go out for a week to one of these amazing cities, and then you come back to Bombay for 3 weeks. So I did that for 2 years. That's the last, large education I have. I have a certificates in financial services and social media. I have a real estate license.
Yeah.
So education is lifelong, but these are my major degrees.
That's amazing. When you studied in the US, what is one thing that helped you succeed eventually? Like, let's say you got opportunities once you went back to India, or you made businesses in the US afterwards. So what is that one thing that helped you succeed in the US?
I owe a lot of gratitude to University of Texas for the person I am. It did not help me get a job because I graduated right around the Great Recession in 07, 08. I didn't have very good grades. So what did I study is also an overstatement.
Yeah.
I did a lot of things which I didn't know what I was doing at the time, but now when I look back, I have a name for. So I started the Longhorn Cricket Club there.
Okay.
During my college, and when I left, it was the biggest university cricket club in the US. And now I look back and said, oh, this is what you call branding, and this is what you call business development.
Yeah.
But at that time I was just doing these things without knowing. So it taught me how to run an entity and a business, and it taught me leadership.
Nice.
Without realizing that I'm learning those things.
Did you also intern during your time at UT Austin?
I interned one of the years. I was this South Bombay spoiled brat.
Yeah.
I didn't necessarily have that pressure, you're going to have to get a job outside of college. It was go make the most of your experience. I did intern 1 year, but it was for my dad's IT company. I was in Washington, D.C. Area in Falls Church, Virginia, and I helped him get new clients for 3 months. The rest of the summers, I enjoyed myself.
Nice.
And I feel like the friends back then who had that really strong work ethic and who had the 4.0 GPA, it did certainly set them up for success in their early career.
Yeah.
But, a job career and an entrepreneurship career can't really be compared beyond a point.
What is one thing that you feel like you regret not doing during your bachelor's in the US?
So I had to move back because,
Yeah.
I didn't have a job out of college. I had a job offer which was withdrawn. I didn't have the grades to, get one on my own. So at that time, I did not realize how hard it would be to move back to this part of the world once you leave.
Yeah.
Once your OPT expires, you're done. Unless you have somebody willing to pay $1 million to get you an EB-5 or whatever, which certainly I was not in that spoiled brat category. I should have tried harder to stay back. Of course, the 10 years I spent in India were amazing. I met my wife there, learned a lot in my family business, but I would have liked to spend some more time here at least before getting that Indian exposure.
I see. So basically working more harder towards getting more opportunities in the US.
You're going to have to work hard in your life.
Yeah.
You choose when.
Yeah.
At 20 or at 60. So our path has not been conventional, but we have more than gathered amazing experiences and skills, which are now all manifesting together to create success. But right out of college, when you're 21, and I was the youngest in my class, so I graduated before turning 21. Okay. Everyone's going off to work wherever they get their jobs. You're like, yeah, I'm just going to go back to India and figure out things. That was not a good feeling for sure.
But that's definitely a very hard decision as well.
Yeah, because I was not in the engineering field. So I had a 1 year OPT.
Yeah.
So I didn't have much time. And maybe I should have stayed that 1 year and tried my butt off to get something,
Mhm.
but I just immediately gave up and went back because,
Mm.
and even back then, like the level of information you have to take these decisions today is much higher than it used
Yeah.
to be back then.
Given that you were also telling about like you have an option, either you work hard at 20 or at 60s, I assume like you work like super hard now. So moving to
Yeah.
that, like what do you do for a living?
I own a property management company.
Okay.
That's my bread and butter, so to speak.
Mhm.
My wife is also an entrepreneur.
Mhm.
She has a pharmaceutical trading company.
Okay.
Apart from that, we have smaller ventures in podcasting and in travel. And I also host a podcast called Diaspora, which interviews first generation immigrants with interesting stories such as yourself from our part of the world. That's my entire portfolio. But the property management company is definitely what takes up 80% of my time.
How did you get into property management?
I was working at Amazon.
Mm-hmm.
The first part of it was in Canada,
Mhm.
a very successful stint launching warehouses.
Yeah.
I got promoted and moved to Seattle
Mhm.
by Amazon. So I was not really planning to move to the US. I was
Mhm.
had established a life there.
Okay.
But very soon after I moved, there was a lot of org restructure as it happens. I had probably 10 different roles in 18 months. And being in
That's
Canada,
crazy.
yeah, it was crazy. Being in Canada, we are permanent residents and then citizens. So
Mhm.
losing a job did not mean losing your ability to live in the country.
Yeah.
And I know there are enough very well off people here who live under that shadow every day,
Mhm.
but I had not lived under that shadow. So when I came here, that was very disconcerting.
Mhm.
So I said, first possible opportunity, I want to stabilize and take control of my visa status.
Yes.
So that was the starting point.
Mhm.
I took a summer off in 2023
Mhm.
and I said, let's do a top-down analysis.
Mhm.
What do we want to do?
Mhm.
The first step was to whether I do a job or have a business.
Yeah.
If it's a job, is it in Amazon? Is it somewhere else? Do I change teams? Do I
Mhm.
change companies? And then there's a matrix. I can do this in Canada. I can do this in US, in Dubai, in India.
Yeah.
And then I started eliminating those boxes.
Mhm.
And it took me a month to figure out that I want to be in business and I want to remain in Seattle.
Yeah.
Then I said, now what am I going to do in terms of business? And I had criteria that recurring income was one. I had a startup capital budget.
Mhm.
It has to be AI proof for at least my lifetime.
Mhm.
But it has to be tech enabled, something with a very low bar.
Yeah.
And I have been enjoying real estate since the start. I have a degree in it.
Mhm.
And also my wife's business has certain attributes.
Mhm.
Like she has few large clients. So I
Yeah.
wanted something with lots of small clients, less client concentration.
Mhm.
Hers is very 9 to 5. So I said, I don't mind something that's operationally heavier.
Mhm.
So we put all these criteria and started eliminating different businesses.
Mhm.
And then property management stood out. And then franchising stood out.
Okay.
So I said, why not have a property management franchise? Because it
Mhm.
also improved my visa chances if I was buying a franchise and getting the investor visa.
Yeah.
And being a Canadian citizen really helped because it's a
Mhm.
visa status that's available to Canadians but not Indian. And then the third month was about which property management franchise to buy.
Mhm.
And then I settled on one group called PMI,
Mhm.
and I'm one of their 6 locations in Seattle now. And I'm one of the biggest ones actually in a short time that I've been here.
Mhm.
And it's just been a great run because anyone who works in Amazon knows what a white paper is.
Yeah.
So I basically wrote a white paper for my career pivot,
Mhm.
saying this is my current state, this is my desired state, this is how I'm going to get there.
Mhm.
And because I had done cash flow analysis, Gantt chart of like all the dependencies,
Mhm.
what can go wrong, I was the fastest one to go from visa approval to launch with a E2 visa in the middle.
Okay.
And because I did all this math, I hit the ground running, and I had predicted that in November of 23 is when I should ideally get my real estate license
Mhm.
if everything goes to plan. And on 3rd November, I got it.
Nice.
So the planning really helped getting going and knowing exactly what am I doing this for, and what should I expect and what challenges will I likely face and how will I get going.
Amazing. So when you said that you wrote a white paper, so was that for the visa approval or was it just for
No, it's
yourself?
for me. And I had circulated it among my family members,
Mhm.
my wife, my brother, his wife, my parents. I told everybody in Amazon fashion, come prepared, having read this white paper. It's only 6 pages with addenda. It was 6 pages. There were line numbers. And I said, now please grill. And so
Mhm.
my dad said, on this line number 22, this assumption that you will do this, what is that based on? So we had a 2-hour call and they grilled me.
Mhm.
And it removed a lot of the blind spots.
Mhm. Nice.
So what I presented for the visa was completely different. The white
Yeah.
paper is with me, and I've actually templatized it and shared it with more than 20 people who are trying to do something else with their life.
Amazing. Can you like share it with my audience as well?
Yeah.
Like if let's say someone comments white paper and they can
Sure.
get that. Okay, amazing.
I'm happy to. It's a template which has got the structure. I've obviously removed my personal data from it,
For sure.
but it's got like a fairly robust skeleton which you can use to think in that manner.
Yes, nice. So what is one thing from that white paper that did not succeed?
Yeah, I think I had oversimplified how much money I would make after quitting Amazon and starting the new business. My projections for the new business were actually quite on target, and I've actually probably exceeded it by a little bit. But in the middle, I thought, I'll just flip houses and do this, buy and rehab, repeat, because I've seen it online. So I will be able to do one house every 3 months. Nothing happened like that. So my cash flow in the middle was next to zero. My wife was continuing her business, but that's also what put so much pressure on me to ramp up quickly. And the good byproduct of that is that my wife, looking at me slogging, she became competitive and she also started ramping up her business.
Wow.
So it actually worked out in the end, even though initially it didn't work out.
That's good. And it also made your wife work harder. So if you don't mind, like, can you give me an approximate number of, like, let's say annual income?
I'll preface that with a couple of pieces of information. One is that though I'm working hard, it's a lot more deliberate because I have 20 years life experience behind it. And this company is only 2 years old. So we're on track to do about 400,000 in revenue this year.
Nice.
We have probably twice the industry margins because we're extremely efficient, and I bring in my tech startup times, my Amazon times, my family business times. So I'm bringing in concepts from other industries, which is helping me succeed faster and be more profitable. So that's where I am in 2 years. It's a fallacy sometimes that you fall into comparing people with your own age who have been here for 15 years, have been in Microsoft, Amazon, they've done very well, got stocks. I don't have that path because like my life reset when I went to India, then it reset when I went to Canada. Of course, I chose to do the reset. It's not a complaint. But those resets, what they gain, they give you in terms of life experience and skills and a global network, which can be leveraged. It also sets you back a couple of years every time you uproot yourself and move to a different country.
For sure.
Yeah.
And on top of that, I mean, you are working on your own terms now.
Yeah.
It's not like you're still working for an employer.
It's the best part about all of this.
Yeah.
Because I control my own immigration now. And yes, I have to handle a maintenance problem on a Saturday night sometimes. But I also can take my son for a baseball game on a Wednesday afternoon. So that freedom is, I think I over-index on how important that is to me.
Yeah.
And that makes it all worth it.
That's amazing. Given that we just discussed about the income, so can you give me a breakdown of your expenses and savings in the US on a monthly basis?
Yeah. So we were very clear when we moved at the age of 32 and 31. My wife was 31. That we're not here purely for economic reasons. We are not going to live the struggling immigrant life. In Canada, that's the thing.
Yeah.
Because here most people come to study, but in Canada people are coming out cold from India. They've never lived abroad, and they land where all the other Indians are.
Yeah.
And someone tells them you should get a basement suite to live in and save money, and they don't know any better.
Yeah.
So they do that, and then they feel, this is not what I signed up for. So we were like, we're gonna live our South Bombay life. So we had a downtown apartment, we had a car, we had all the standard of living that we used to have in Bombay. So our expenses have always been high compared to the average family. And now what has happened is because our businesses support a lot of our lifestyle, because one, it's tax efficient.
Yeah.
So my real income is actually distorted. So on paper, I make very less money.
Yeah.
And I make do in very less money. But because all my lifestyle is being afforded in the company before I pay tax. Keeping my business expenses out in the sense like my employees, cost of compliance, all of that. We probably spend about 16 to 18,000 a month.
Okay.
And a big chunk of that is obviously rent. We didn't think it was a good financial decision to buy in this market. We have
being a property manager, you have decided to not buy but
absolutely
rent. Amazing.
Yeah, and the people whose properties I manage, they've all had these properties for a very long time. So either the interest rate is low, or the property value is much lower, or it's a paid off property from 2 generations ago.
Yeah.
Like how in India we all have ancestral property. There are people here you do. It's just that as a newer immigrant, you don't meet too many of those people.
Yeah.
So those are the people who can afford to have this property and have it cash flow. But otherwise, the property I would like to live in will cost me twice what I can rent the same exact thing for.
Yeah.
So when you do a trade-off where the money that you're saving that by not putting in a down payment or the rent, the mortgage, if you invest that separately, even in the stock market, you'll still be better off after losing the money on the rent 100%.
Yeah.
And that equation holds true 99% of the time in a city like Seattle. If I'm in North Carolina, it's a different equation. So yeah, bulk of it is rent, vehicles, health insurance. I pay through my nose for health insurance.
Okay.
So that is over a couple $1,000s a month for a family. And then, just eating out, travel, vacations.
Yeah. So if you have to like give me percentages in terms of like buckets of this expense, that would be
about
nice.
25% would be rent and utilities. Another 10 to 15% would be the vehicles. 10-12% would be the insurance. This is just health insurance. And your other insurances are different. Life and car and whatever. And then we spend a lot of money on experiences. Traveling here and there, going for sporting events. My wife's going to some Diljit concert next month. So that makes up a bulk of the rest. And then we end up saving about 20 to 25% more.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice.
But all our expenses, for the most part, are inelastic. Where if I have a month where I'm having a bad income, I can't just turn that off.
Yeah.
So really what you can turn off is, not go for a baseball game. And the stage of life I'm in, I'm not going to worry about that so much.
Yeah.
So therefore, I selected a business which has repeating income. And where I don't have to worry each month that if I'm going to be in India for a month, I still know that my company is going to keep earning me money.
Yeah.
And that was very deliberate to avoid this kind of situation where at the age of 40, I don't want to be rationing.
Yeah.
Do I want to, even if I have a new business, I don't want to be rationing.
Yeah.
That I can't take my son to a baseball game because revenue is down or whatever.
In Seattle, there's like growing talk about introduction of the income taxes.
Yeah.
Which is like, let's say the state tax and also the local taxes of Seattle.
Yeah.
What's your thought on that? And like, are you planning to move out?
No, not at all. Because my primary income is through businesses, we have a lot more control on how much that final number comes out to.
Yes.
With a W-2, it's much, much harder to control. And in tech, that's going to be a real problem. But the way I see it is, I would rather think, how do I make that extra money back? Versus like, this is my budget. If it doesn't work, I will leave. Because I'm here to leave behind something, like a mark on this city in whatever level and way I can. A tax is not going to make me run away. If I was 100 millionaire and the tax bill was 5 million, we would maybe have a different conversation.
Yes.
But where I am right now, I have a network, I have an ecosystem, I have friends, my son has a life here. It's not worth uprooting all that for a bit of extra tax, even if I was a W-2 employee.
Makes sense. 3 key insights on starting a business in real estate in 2026.
First key insight is find your niche because it is an oversaturated business. When you think of brokers especially, there's no shortage of opportunities in the right places. For example, you do property management for clubs like this, or you are a real estate broker who specializes in horse ranches. I met someone who does that recently. Or you manage industrial buildings. Or you buy and sell medical office buildings. So it's a niche which requires a certain expertise and makes you more valuable. Obviously, it takes longer to develop that niche. The second thing is to really bank on tech. Different parts of real estate have adopted tech differently. So there are pockets where if you use tech very well, you can really get an advantage.
Got it.
Property management is catching up a lot with the tech stack, but I'm seeing that only in the last 2-3 years. When I didn't have a license, I went to a property manager networking event just to find out more. Someone gave me a business card with a fax number on it. And I was like, this is great. Because if I'm using apps and tech stack and I have AI, we use AI a lot and it gives us a huge advantage. So that would my second insight be. And third is that your network is your net worth. The more people you know in real estate, doesn't matter if you're in PropTech, if you're in brokerage, if you're in management, development, architect, doesn't matter. The network is super, super important in that business.
What is one thing that you did right in your property management business that is like helping you scale?
It was a very simple thing. I pick up the phone because it's an industry where responsiveness really matters. So if I get a lead at 10 p.m., I'm going to call them at 10 p.m.
Amazing.
Because they're on their laptop right now thinking about property management. So they'll pick up my phone. And I've talked about this over and over again, the PMI franchise network. When I get an in-person meeting, right after that call, I can close about 87% of leads.
Wow.
So it's a very high ratio. And the fact that I pick up it tells the client that I'm going to be responsive to them. And that's what a property manager has to be above everything else.
Yes. Amazing. If someone who is an immigrant here working in the US, how can they get a real estate license, and can they actually start working if they are on a visa here?
If you are on like a H1B, you can get a license because the licensing agency does not talk to the immigration.
Sure.
At least not that I know of. So they won't check your visa status when they give you the license.
Yeah.
But when you earn money, that's what might get you in trouble with the.
Okay.
Because I think on a H1 you can own a business, but you can't actively work for their business or make money from
sure.
directly. I would strongly recommend don't do it. If you want to be a real estate investor, of course you can. Then you wanna study the material for the knowledge. Don't go into licensing. But if your visa allows this, then there are plenty of excellent brokers out there.
Yeah.
It's very hard today to ramp up, and I think Washington has over 10,000 brokers. So it's very hard to ramp up and build a real estate business from scratch today because you're doing exactly what everyone else is doing.
Yeah.
Unless you have some niche like industrial and a lot of these are very closed networks of people.
Yeah.
Where they just won't let you in just because you're new.
Yeah.
So that's why I said it's real estate, but the bar is much lower in property management. You know, a lot of your listeners are young people.
Yeah.
Ask how many like their property manager. Most will say no.
Yeah.
So it was a place where I could excel easily. So I came onto this side, and one of the reasons I get so many referrals from brokers is because I don't do broking. So it gives them comfort that I'm not going to steal their clients. So if you're on a regular H1B visa, I don't think it's a practical option.
On what other visas is it possible?
I mean, any of these non-immigrant visas would probably be the H4 can do it. The L2 can do it. Yeah. Like my wife has a E2 dependent visa. She has more freedom than I do. Just like the H4 has more freedom. So that person can definitely take it up. But if you're the primary on a visa, I think it would be very difficult.
Okay, so let's say the spouse applies for the real estate license and they get it. So what are the top 3 benefits that they get being a real estate agent and like having that family and one of them is a real estate agent?
I mean, if you are going to invest regularly in properties, buy, sell, then having your own license makes a big difference. From the knowledge perspective, you will save on brokerage. You will have access to a network of other brokers and therefore off-market inventory. The people who are very prolific in their real estate investments, it might make sense to go get that for themselves. If my family spends $100,000 a year on travel, I can get a travel agent license just so I can get commissions on my own trips. And it's like getting a cashback.
Yeah.
So this becomes a cashback where you're getting your 2%, 3% commission back on everything because you're itself representing yourself as the broker. But apart from that, the knowledge is more experiential than like with most education. And you might get access to a network, which is obviously network is your net worth.
Yeah.
So it's a very helpful thing.
What about like from the taxes POV? Like I've heard like there's some like depreciating and other benefits also that you get.
Yeah, certain types of assets you can depreciate quicker. It depends whether you can use that depreciation on your W2 income or not.
Yeah.
There's many scenarios to that. But having a business in general helps a lot.
Yeah.
Because business first spends money and then pays taxes.
Yes.
Versus individuals first pay tax and then spend money. So, and it's all legal, allowed by IRS.
Yes.
So, for example, my wife is on my board and I'm on her board. And our board meeting is in India this year.
Yeah.
So, the company will pay for my flights. Right? And we have to be able to prove if we are in an audit that we talked business.
Yes.
Of course, that goes without saying. But, you know, it's not that hard to do. Our cards, the health insurance, everything is paid by the company. So, so that applies to any kind of company entity you have which makes real revenue. It can't be making losses for 5 years in a row because then you'll get questioned as to what are you really doing here.
For sure.
But we both have legitimate businesses. We load everything that we legally can into those businesses. And that reduces the tax burden to, you won't believe, you know, like really, really low percentage income in taxation.
That's amazing. And in terms of getting a real estate license, what's one thing you did that helped you succeed in clearing that exam?
I've always been good with standardized tests.
Okay.
So I studied for a week and got it.
Okay.
It was not
in just 1 week.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like even my GMAT I studied for a week. I've somehow been good at picking that up, but it's not a hard exam.
Yeah.
it's very common sense English, and that doesn't mean you'll be a great real estate broker.
Yeah.
Those are separate things.
Yeah.
Getting the license is not difficult. You have to work under a designated broker for 3 years before you can. They have to sign off on everything you do, and after that, you can be your own designated broker. But the exam itself is not hard. What's
Okay.
hard is becoming excellent in that profession because there's so many nuances to it.
For sure. Yeah, just rank these 5 markets in terms of real estate. First is Seattle, second is California, third is New York, fourth is Texas, and fifth is Florida.
So I'll give you a bit of a complicated answer.
Yeah.
Depending on where you are in the ecosystem, there are different answers. For property management, Seattle is amazing because the rents are so high. California rents are higher, but regulation is also higher. So your cost goes up.
Okay.
Texas, the rents are lower. Ease of doing business is higher, but you earn less.
Yes.
So after I decided to do PMI, I did a reverse correlation.
Okay.
Because I started with I want to be in Seattle. I landed on property management. So I asked, is Seattle still the best for that, what I want to do now? And it was one of the best places. If you are a developer, Texas is not a good market right now because there's oversupply.
Yes.
If you are a real estate investor who's buying single homes, probably none of these are great right now in terms of the appreciation. If you are an investor and investing in residential properties, maybe an Indiana or a North Carolina may actually be better because there's cash flow and there's appreciation.
Yeah.
So it's a very, very broad industry. But out of these, for where I am, Seattle is probably a excellent spot. And Florida is oversaturated. Texas is less revenue per property. California has higher regulation, lower margins. And New York is kind of in the middle of all of this.
Okay. 3 core differences in property management for a state which is like highly regulated, let's say Seattle, versus a state that is like less regulated, let's say Texas.
So one is how much you favor landlords over tenants. So Seattle will have laws that favor tenants.
Okay.
So for a property manager, that's actually a good thing because that increases the value I add.
Okay.
So I know the myriad differences between how I should serve a notice in Seattle versus in Issaquah, and what rent I can increase in a Redmond versus a Bellevue. The tenant friendliness is actually a good thing. Also, higher regulation usually means that rents can go higher. So that's a very good thing for us as well, where we make revenue as a percentage of the rent.
Yeah.
So if rent goes higher, then our income goes higher as well without doing anything extra for that income.
For property management, is US better than India in terms of business?
Yeah, so in India in 2013, I tried to have a property management company.
Okay.
And it was an international company which helped NRIs buy and manage property in India.
Okay.
We ran out of money. The tech product was too hard to build, and the real estate was not regulated back then. So we had assumed builders will take 6 months to pay us brokerage. They took 18 months. So back then there was no comparison.
Yeah.
Now there's a lot of movement around it, but conventional residential property management has not gone there yet.
Okay.
It is still a broker on a scooter who shows the property. Like here I can do self showings. People, it's tech enabled and it's a high trust society.
Yeah.
There I could never do that. So a lot of the enablers and revenue and value drivers are missing there even now. But if you look at managing commercial office buildings, the facility management, the janitorial services, that is huge in India on that side. But on the residential side, it's not. And if we don't have apartment buildings. We don't have one big building which has one leasing office. All the properties are on rent, and one company owns it. That's next to never happens in India.
Yeah.
That's where the big money in our industry is.
So what is the structure of India versus here in terms of properties?
So there it's what we would call your condos. Everybody has condos. There's a cooperative housing society, which we have called your HOA.
Yeah.
And they're all owned by different people. And most of the time the landlord is self-managing the property. Again, laws are harder to enforce.
Yeah.
Legal system is kind of hairier, I guess. So landlords do it. The value added by a property manager in terms of knowing the laws, all that is not that relevant. Here, like the landlord says, I don't want to do anything with this and all these nuances of laws. You handle it for me and here's your fee. So there the value added is not that much.
Okay.
To begin with. And maybe it will change, especially with bigger like apartment buildings. If that becomes a thing, with India's urban population growing, you might see that become a thing. I think that's when it will become a lot more relevant.
Real estate in 2026, yes or no?
No.
Why?
because like I said, that if you're buying
For investment, yes.
for investment,
Yeah.
depends on the part of the country.
Mhm.
There are still places which are definitely cash flowing.
Okay.
But Seattle, no. It's probably one of the worst equation between, like in terms of how much you're losing every month.
Mhm.
I think you need something like 18-19% appreciation per year to make the rent worth the purchase.
Interesting.
And it's happened before last 10-15 years, but I don't think it's going to happen next 5 years at
Yeah.
least. Something needs to be drastically different.
Mhm.
The housing supply has to go up in one way, and more people have to continue moving here. Both those things are a bit doubtful, because if housing supply is less, that shoots prices up
For
more,
sure.
but then it shoots up the prices so much that the rent you get is not
Mm.
commensurate.
Yeah.
So I have properties which I manage which are $4 million.
Mhm.
The rent is $8,000.
Mhm.
Why would I try to buy a $4 million house if I can live in it for 8,000?
Yeah.
And if I have 4 million, I would just buy a multiplex in North Carolina instead of
Mhm.
one property mansion in Bellevue.
Yeah.
That's in simplistic terms, that's the equation. There's a saying
Mhm.
that when there's a gold rush, you want to be the person selling the shovels,
Mm.
so that whether those people find gold or not, you are successful.
You're successful.
So in a way, property management is that. So whether when you make money, you'll make big money.
Yeah. Yeah.
I will never make big money on your property, but
Mm.
I'll make steady income.
Steady. What is your investment philosophy?
So I come from a stockbroking family in India,
Okay.
and I have degrees in finance. So
Mhm.
do I have the ability to research companies
Mhm.
and asset classes? Yes.
Mhm.
Is that the best use of my time right now? No.
No.
So when I had the time, I used to do even options trading.
Mhm.
But right now, it's put your money in SIP, like we
Mhm.
call it in India.
Yeah.
Systematic investment, markets are up or down.
Index funds.
Keep investing in index funds. You might diversify by asset class, like
Mhm.
during uncertain times, have some gold exposure,
Okay.
or have some India exposure,
Mhm.
or debt exposure.
Mhm.
But I'm not a fan of everyone doing their own research,
Mhm.
because you're not going to be as good as a professional fund manager
For sure.
for the time that you invest.
Mhm.
And especially when I was an Amazon employee, that extra hour I saved by not
Mhm.
doing research didn't earn me extra income,
Yeah.
because my salary is the same.
Mhm.
There's only an intangible benefit
Mhm.
of, like, maybe I upgrade my skills or something.
Yeah.
But right now, every hour has a cost.
Mhm.
So that hour, if I don't spend doing stock research, but
Mhm.
instead I call 5 more people,
Yeah.
that's going to earn me way more return than what delta I can get from a fund manager versus myself, if at all there is a delta.
Yeah. For
Most
sure.
of the time, it's a negative relation, right? Because in Amazon, I used to see a lot of people, like, they're just staring at the screen all day, and the problem is whether your position is $5 or $5,000. So a lot of people were staring at their screens, and the problem is whether you have $5 worth of stock or $5,000
Yeah.
worth of stock, you're going to have the same amount of stress.
Mhm.
Same thing happens now with even all these betting apps, which
Mhm.
are allowing you to bet on all sorts of things.
Yeah.
It takes the fun out of watching sports,
Watching
right?
sports,
So
true.
the same thing, like, it takes the fun out of watching your investments grow, because you're always stressed about your decision being
Mm.
right or not.
Yeah.
So unless you're in the industry and the time you spend is giving you the delta
Mhm.
compared to a professional fund manager, I would not bother,
Mhm.
really. Learn for curiosity.
Yeah.
Nothing wrong with that.
How has your investment philosophy changed in like last 5 years?
For my personal savings,
You have, let's say, XYZ net worth. Out of
Yeah.
that, you have X% stock, Y% gold.
oh yeah.
Has that changed over the last 5 years, and how do you see it going in the next 5 years?
Yeah, as you get older, generally the overall risk appetite should go down,
Yeah.
because you have lesser years left to make up for big losses.
Mhm.
I don't invest in things I don't understand. That's
Okay.
always been the case.
Mhm.
I don't understand crypto.
Mhm.
I'm sure it's great for
Yeah.
it works for whoever it works for. Doesn't work for me.
I've just invested for the sake of it.
Yeah. And if you go in saying, I don't know anything about this, I'm prepared to lose this
Yeah.
money, then it's a different story.
Yeah.
But I used to do a lot more options when I was
Mhm.
younger. I used to also do a lot more active day trading,
Mhm.
because I worked in a stockbroking family business.
Yeah.
I had a screen in front of me all day.
Mhm.
I don't do that at all
Okay.
anymore. So it's become more towards index ETFs,
Mhm.
steadily rising debt funds.
Mhm.
And then during times like this, when I feel like everything's really overvalued, I will temporarily switch asset class to like something which is less likely to have a shock. Like a gold is better when
Mhm.
equity is uncertain.
Yeah.
I'll do a little bit of that, but you don't want to keep doing it too much, because then again becomes a distraction.
What's like your goals for next 3 to 5 years?
Next 3 to 5 years is to build
What's your next white paper?
the next white paper. Right now, the business is growing at a great clip.
Mhm.
So I want to continue doing that and grow inorganically
Mhm.
through acquisitions of other businesses.
Nice.
There's a lot of talk online about having all these baby boomers are retiring. You
Mhm.
can buy boring businesses. So definitely a move in that direction.
Okay.
And then the next big step is to have a real estate fund of my own, and take money from markets like this to markets like North Carolina, where there is a lot of cash flow,
Yeah.
and redirect capital and help people who otherwise can't redirect it so easily as an individual. That's kind of the premise, and being part of a franchise network is great for doing that. So those two things would probably be my business ambitions, and the other is to spend as much time with my 6-year-old son as possible before he grows up and doesn't want to, becomes a teenager and doesn't want to hang out with me.
$400,000 in the US or 1 crore in India. Which one would you prefer and why?
If it's 400,000 salary, then I would prefer India for the most part. But 1 crore in Hyderabad is not the same as 1 crore in Bombay. So that's one caveat. But if
you can compare, like, let's say Seattle versus Bangalore.
My reason for moving here was quality of life before the income. So if you do a straight income calculation, I have a lot of property owners as clients who have moved back, and this is exactly what they say, that I make 300,000 here, 1 crore is better in Hyderabad. And my kids have the grandparents right there. We have the ecosystem of help with us. But for them, the quality of life, the air quality, the traffic, those things don't figure in the equation. And moving away from here and the way of life here does not figure in the equation because they never assimilated to begin with.
Yes.
They've not lived the life here. They've lived their life here with, I think one of your videos, they said there was a Desi bubble.
Yes.
So if you're in that bubble, it's very easy to go back.
Yeah.
And what you're leaving behind is like, some friends who are all Indian and maybe a property or two.
Yeah.
So then your switching cost is much lower. So for me, like even if I was making 3 times, 4 times the money in India, and India is the place to do business right now because of the scale, because of where it's going, and how quickly it's becoming a global power. If you have the ability to do business in India and take advantage of all that it offers, that is the place to be in the world. But I know that's not my particular skill set. So for me, the equation is very, very different because I put a premium on the fresh air and being on the lake and being on the watching baseball. And a lot of my friends in India find it silly. Like it's been now 8 years, they'll still say, "Ho gaya, come back now, join your family business or whatever." But for me, that equation is very different.
I see.
But for these types of folks who are like my clients, for them it's a no-brainer to go back right now.
Got it. If let's say someone is about to move to the US or Canada and they are still like thinking which country they should pick, what would you recommend them?
So I'll compare Vancouver and Seattle. Vancouver is a yoga instructor. Seattle is a yoga instructor with a very, very corporate job.
Okay.
So it's beautiful and it's nice, but it's still very hectic. Of course, coming from Bombay, nothing is really hectic. But Canada is more laid back. Their focus is more on quality of life and living your life. US is a little more like, let's go. No matter where you are in the US, people are much more business minded. I think East Coast, it's even more like that than the West Coast. And of course, the national attitude. US is like, we are US. We don't care about anyone else in the world. Whereas Canada is very much like, you're not Indian Canadian. You're still Indian and you accept Canadian multiculturalism.
Okay.
Whereas here you're like, no, you're Indian American, you're Vietnamese American. Everybody needs to kind of assimilate into the idea of America.
If you can tell me like 3 core differences of starting something in Canada, like starting a business in Canada versus starting it in the US.
The biggest difference is the size of market. It's 40 million versus 350 odd million. So it's a much smaller market to begin with.
40 million as in for your property management?
No, just the population of the country.
Okay.
About 37 million to, it's 10 times the population.
For sure.
So anything that let's say you want to import some product, your market is 10 times smaller. So that affects some industries more than it affects others. The other difference is that here for more sophisticated industries, there's a bigger pool of jobs available. So if like my wife is a pharmaceutical marketing executive, in India she had lots of jobs. In the US she would have huge number of jobs in the right cities. But even in the small cities she would have some options. In Vancouver there's no pharma. She had there was one job that fit her profile in the whole city. So it becomes a lot harder to do anything very specialized beyond your, if you're in real estate, if you own a gas station, it doesn't matter. You can be anywhere. But if you're doing anything specialized, then they all look to the US. Like we want to expand into US market. Whereas in US, nobody is running to expand into Canadian market, right? So that's another big difference. And the third is that Canada as a country is just more conservative.
Yeah.
US is more boisterous. In Canada, the laws are conservative, the financing is conservative, the types of deals people do are more conservative. So people take more time to think through decisions. So the pace at which you grow can be limited if you are very American level of ambition and growth and everything.
Yeah, it's an irony, right? Canada is, you're saying conservative, but it's probably more liberal.
Exactly. It's conservative on in doing business, liberal on the political spectrum.
If you were not living in the US, which other country would you want to live in?
I lived in Canada for 4 years before that.
Yeah.
I would be very happy to live there.
Okay.
My wife prefers going back to India. So we've agreed that something like Dubai is a very nice, happy place in the middle. But looking at the last few weeks, maybe not.
Yeah. If you were not living in Seattle, where else would you want to live in the US?
I think my number 2 choice is Austin, Texas, because I'm familiar with the city. If I was in a profession where being in a very large city mattered, then New York City would probably be the next choice. I've never been a big fan of California. I think it's beautiful. I don't know if I would want to live there. I've been to 39 states. Right now, the whole, like I said, polarization has become more.
Yeah.
So that reduces your kind of options that you have. Also, weather plays a big part for me.
Yes.
So that kind of removes a big swath of the country. But Austin, New York, and Seattle are my 3 choices.
A lot of people say that Austin is too hot. So what is it about Austin that you really like?
Hot in terms of weather, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, coming from Bombay, it doesn't bother me. Here the monsoon doesn't bother me. This is a monsoon. We have a real monsoon in India. But it's a great food scene. It's also multicultural. It's a growing city. I just like the whole Texas swag, and it's, for me, it's a place I grew up. It influenced me in many ways. So for me, that's what I would pay more weightage to.
I think it's like that you're American and then you're a Texan. So
Yes.
it's like it's that kind of vibe that you get from Texas.
Yeah, and I have huge amount of Texas pride. I have a Texas Longhorns tattoo.
Yeah.
I'm a next
Tattoo?
level fan. Yeah.
Wow.
I'm a next level fan. I follow Texas football as much as I follow India cricket, and I know that sport intimately like I know cricket. So for me, it would be amazing to be able to go to games.
Nice.
And every place you're gonna have to give up something.
Yeah.
So here you're giving up the rain weather, right? But the summer makes up for it. So I think Austin, if it's too hot or there's it's a growing pains of a city that's growing fast, then I'm sure there's many other things you can find which make up for it.
For sure. What is the harsh truth about the American dream that people who are moving in fail to admit initially?
So the not so harsh truth is that we have to do everything ourselves.
Yeah.
Like we have to do dishes and this and that. The harsh truth is that you are comparing your life in India, which was probably, as a person with a master's degree working in tech, your top 2-3% of society there.
Yeah.
With a life where you are maybe in the 60th percentile. So it's not a fair comparison.
Yeah.
So for me, the harsh truth is the people who complain about those things, it's they're comparing apples and oranges. If you were at the same percentile in the US, you would have a servant at home, you would have a driver, you would have to make much more money.
Yeah.
And that happens more again when you have a job versus a business.
Yeah.
Because that 1 hour I saved by not doing laundry and have someone else do it, what did I do with that hour? For me, that I have a very clear answer what I'm going to do with that hour.
Yeah.
So the truth is, people focus on those things, like what's missing about life here.
Yeah.
But I feel like America it's a buffet. And if you come here, you bought a ticket and you come here, it's up to you to eat everything the country has to offer. It's going to get your talents regardless, whether you like it or not.
You like it or not.
But then if you're not making the most of that and instead focusing on what's missing, then that's on you. Like, that's your loss. There are people here who have been here for 20 years. They've never been out on the water and they're happy doing it. And when they go, they're like, this is what I missed for 20 years. So, it's kind of sad to see that, because the US got your talents and your brains. But what did you get in exchange?
What did you get?
On my podcast, one of the guests said a very interesting thing, that assimilation should not stop at a Costco membership. It should go much beyond that.
Cool. So I think we'll just stop here. Any last words that you have that you want to share to the audience?
I would just say keep an abundance mindset.
Yeah.
And I know it's a very stressful time, especially for people on work visas. Keep your head down, keep working as you have been. And this too shall pass.
Yeah.
And hopefully your green card's coming any day now.